On today's episode of Electronic Music Man is Boddhi Satva, DJ, producer, songwriter from the Central African Republic who now resides in Lisbon, Portugal, who's been frequently traveling the world for 20 years as a performing artist and DJ. Identified as the father of ancestral soul, a sound that he culminated over time, bringing together his roots and influences from various traditional African elements and pioneering modern electronic music producers and DJs. Bodhisattva is the embodiment of the spiritual and the natural sounds of the traditional sense of dance brought into the modern world of clubland and international music. This man walks the walk, talks the talk, and his music says it all at the same time. His list of music production and collaborations have touched the lives of many people around the world, which include the likes of Tidra Moses, Omu Sangare, and Bilal. Immediately adapting to COVID-19 with his regular Instagram and YouTube show, Quarantine Grooves, and now his new podcast, while still releasing music monthly on his own imprint, offering recordings. On today's episode, we'll be discussing coping in the eye of the storm, pivoting business and career strategies and how to approach that, career challenges and overcoming them. Bodhisattva, welcome to Electronic Music Man. Honored to have you on the show. How are you, brother?
I'm all right, brother. Thank you very much for having me.
It's amazing.
It's a pleasure.
How's it going? How's Lisbon? How's Lisbon treating you?
It's good, man. I've been here for now. I moved here 3.5 years ago, and it feels rather amazing, I have to say. It's quite a change compared to Brussels, Belgium.
Right on. Look, I see that you're still very active online and in the studio, musically, politically, offering recordings hasn't slowed down. How are you finding juggling your work, your projects, and coping right now in let's call it the eye of the storm? Has your approach changed since COVID hit, or is it the same? What have you adapted to, and what's been happening?
Well, I guess even more so because of the fact that we're in the eye of the storm. And the fact that this given storm has disabled us from the capacity of traveling the world and being able, to make a living while, doing what we love, which is DJing, right? And making the people dance. It seems as though, the necessity to take even more investment of myself in the label became evident. And so, it's a great and interesting shift, something that, as you and many of us know, has disrupted our lives. I've been busy with the label for quite some time, but it seems that this pandemic has exposed even more so the necessity to really be hands-on to the business and making sure that, the alternative is trying to generate substantial means of survival through streaming.
Yeah.
So it's all about that hardcore, dedicated work and try to be super active, but at the same time, not overwhelming people with too much information, but still giving people enough information as there's already too much information out there. So, it's juggling with this balance, which is rather uneasy, but we're getting there.
Yeah, and is your team around offerings? Is it do you operate that from your home in Lisbon, and do you have other people helping you with that?
Yes, I have. So I'm operating the label together with Sifa. Sifa is in Brussels, and I'm here in Lisbon. But it's pretty much just us two. We have our in-house designer Ricon as well, but we've had to slow down as well on using his services for the moment, because for a little while, because the money that was generated through the streaming was nothing crazy, and that's the reality of the market. It's a bit harsh if you're trying to maintain a certain quality on the delivery of the visuals, and then it comes with a price. So we've had to learn to do it ourselves for a little while until we get to increase the financial capacities of the label because as you know, for us to generate just even if we were to set 3,000 euros, we would need at least 1 million streams on one record.
Wow.
Which has happened actually a couple of months ago. Actually, I'll say a year and 2. I was still in Belgium at the time, so yeah, it was 3 years and a half ago. But then we part ways with that artist because there was some conflicts going on, and we were being accused of trying to take money from that artist, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I got no time with dealing with that kind of nonsense. So we part with that artist, give that artist back their catalog, and letting them live their good life. And so right now the thing is that if you're looking at offering, we're signing after that situation. As a matter of fact, we decided that we were not going to sign as many artists as we used to. Because people have this assumption that we make millions. They see me traveling, they see so they have these fantasies. Especially, I think it applies to most of us who have a name of our own and who are able to travel the world. Artists have this idea that you're able to travel because of them, and that's the very, very, very essential point of discord here, because it's like, I am actually giving you my name and my reputation and my brand so that you can surf off of that and eventually make a living for yourself. Just because you're associated to me. Just like when I started working I did my first release with Oshun Lade. I mean, come on, we're talking about Oshun Lade, like you gotta be dumb and really, 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 really idiotic, pardon me, but it's the truth, not to take advantage of that opportunity. Not only it's a dream come true, but on top of that, this man is giving you his rayonance, his brilliance, for you to use that to the best of your advantage.
Yeah.
Some people still expect you to come and, wipe their asses for them. And it's like, nah, man, it's not happening, So we decided to, focus more on my productions and on my releases. And, I've as of recently decided to sign a couple of new projects. We don't sign artists. We just sign projects. And so, I just sign sporadically here and there if there's something really, really nice. But for the most part, the label is now focused mostly on me. And the resources of the
it's not just focused on you.
It's mostly focused on me.
Okay. So it's more or less an output for your own projects, really, and that way you can sort of maintain control and you can look after your own. Own projects.
I do release some projects of other guys that I really like, and guys and girls. As a matter of fact, I like. When I like a project, I'll drop it and I'll sign it. But for the moment, I think I've had a bit. I was a bit disgusted by what happened a couple of years ago with that artist, especially knowing that we don't generate millions. We don't generate not even if we're able to generate at times even 1,000 euros in a month. It's amazing, So people got to come to some realities. Like you might see me gigging everywhere, but it's like our labels and our companies are not necessarily doing as well as we are doing. Not because we are not working on it. It's just that this is the reality of the market. In order for me to compete with a Defected or another big label like that, I got to have that power, that financial power. But since my label was not born in these good days of house music and this, when music was still selling, we got to work in this digital business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different business. And yeah, I mean, people do have the misconception of of those expectations from sort of, DIY labels, and think that, that they're going to get all this crazy support. Well, you get the support, but you've got to, they've got to wait, like see the reality of it, as you said. Yeah. And so has that been good for you though? Like being able to kind of release your, like having offerings as your own imprint and maintaining sort of control for your music?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, look, brother, I can tell you now it's exponential. I'm seeing, obviously because I'm releasing a lot of music on the label, so I'm therefore the most streamed artist off of the label. So I'm the one really bringing most of the chunk of the money on the label. But, so be it. I want to be my own example that, if I apply the rule of producing a lot of content and I'm releasing it accordingly, properly, I think I can manage to bring that label to a position where in the next 2 years, God willing, it will be a very, very stable and steady income, allowing us to now expand and, even probably hire and branch out. The thing is this, right? So I'm not even, this actually leads to another conversation, but, I already have other plans with the label. I already have another vision. I want to turn this whole thing into a completely new experience because I'm seeing it coming. Obviously, labels are, nowadays as an artist, you don't even need to sign a label, really. You can go to lender.com, a site that actually provides you automated mastering for your record. It's actually working pretty decently well. If you do a good mix down on your track, you will have a decent mastering.
Which website's that?
Lender.com.
Lender.
LANDR.com. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
right.
they give you distribution. And they don't I don't even think they take money from your sales. Actually, I don't know.
And when you say distribution, you mean like basically being an aggregator and getting it out to all platforms for
you.
They
aggregate your music. Obviously, they won't get it to Traxsource. I don't think they do, or to some of those websites. But who cares? I mean, the truth is that I don't. As much as I appreciate what Traxsource has been doing for the music, I don't make money from Traxsource.
But what about Bandcamp? Is offerings on Bandcamp?
Bandcamp is on offerings on Bandcamp. Bandcamp, I'm seeing definitely a little cent here, a little euro there. I'll see a couple of sales here and there. It's nothing crazy, but it's there.
Did you find like because they did it again recently, Bandcamp did the no fees, so 100% of income straight to the artists and labels. Did you find a spike for you in sales on those given days when they did those campaigns?
I didn't.
Interesting.
I would say that these campaigns impacted certain labels more than others. Obviously the big labels, maybe Brownswood, Jazz Peterson's label probably got impacted in the positive way.
because they've got a bigger roster and people are being.
And because they are the labels that people go to eventually on Bandcamp. Bandcamp seems. I haven't seen Bandcamp really working well for offering. It's a great site, and I really like it. I actually go and buy music on Bandcamp.
Me too.
So it's not like I'm not a consumer of the music on Bandcamp. I'm actually a purchaser of the music on Bandcamp. But it's like, I haven't yet tapped into the power of that platform for offering, and I think it takes time. Again, it's a 2-man operation. So it's Sifa and myself, but Sifa has his own label that he's running. So it's pretty much 1-man operation at this point right now. Even though Sifa is helping me out with handling the, making sure that we have our socials on point, etc. But it's very, 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 very tough to do all this on your own.
So the operations of the label itself, like label management, that's you. That's
me. Yeah, this process. It's become definitely. I would say it's 80% me, and the rest is Sifa handling. At least, and that 20%, believe it or not, helped a lot. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and you see, we are independent labels, so the notion of accounting, all these things is not something that is necessarily familiar to the way we're proceeding things, because it's not like the money is anything crazy. As I said, if you generate 600 euros in a month, you barely come out of your cost. It costs me more money to produce the music or to produce someone else's music. So it's like, having it mixed down, having the cover done, etc. That's why we decided to scale down and do the covers via Canva.com. We're doing our own covers.
Yeah.
Is it the best approach? Honestly, when you're trying to cut costs, yes, it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a serious reality. So the past couple of weeks, I've been really thinking of trying to find a way to sit down with some great minds and ask them, questions like, what do you think a man like me and anyone like me who has his or her own label, which is a very decent, name in the game. I mean, Offering Recordings does stand some solid grounds.
Absolutely.
As far as the reputation, but as far as the money, it doesn't translate. Yeah. So how can we flip that coin and flip that dollar and turn it into a couple of thousands? Because that would be ideal. Because then at that very threshold, You're no longer dwelling in the space of like, do I have enough to do this? Can I pay for an accountant? Can I do this? You have all that covered because you're generating that kind of cash. But in order for that cash to be generated, I have to be the one creating the body of work.
Yeah.
So right now I'm on a marathon of creating 50 songs on top of everything else that I've done.
Yeah.
That is scheduled to come out. So man, it's crazy. But I'm excited. You know, I love it. I love the challenge. And you know, I think that the salvation of this whole thing comes through my avenue, and I'm going to use my resonance, and my visibility to try to impact the label in the best way possible.
Yeah. Well, it also because offerings does look like it is, you know, going back to what we were saying before, offerings it appears to be so active and it's doing so much. That I guess that's where those misconceptions can come from
exactly.
Artists. They look at you and they think, oh my God, but then they don't really know what's going on in the back end, which is what you're
idea.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, it is a, you know, it is a big passion and love to do this work. And you know, you've been doing a remarkable job. And look, so I guess it does, I guess this leads on to where I was going with the first question about coping in this eye of the storm. I guess this is what you've been spending a lot of your time on now is looking at pivoting the business, focusing more on the business. And now you've got that time where you can focus on that. I mean, is there any other approaches now that you're looking into for the future of, like, you know, expanding and the direction of the company or the business? Is there ways you're doing stuff now? Like,
yeah, a very good question. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Well, the way I look at the expansion is, first of all, in the coming months, I would say the label is going to have the capacity to distribute other labels. So, you know, we're going to become, you know, sub-distributors for labels, which is something that I'm interested in doing because I want to have a better, a comprehensive and a much better control of how the Afro House game is being handled. And I benefit from the fact that, you know, my reputation speaks for me. And a lot of the up and coming guys are really, you know, they actually are the ones approaching me to distribute their music. So this is not in place yet, but we're working on it. What that will consist of us, you know, taking a small percentage, obviously, because we are facilitating the distribution of their work. But on top of that, it's also part of this great vision of creating a broader sort of like expansion of the movement, but also the company where we actually have all these extra legs, you know, that allow us to even, you know, dig deeper on the grounds and have a stable sort of like position. But besides that, I'm looking at medias. I'm looking at adding a mediatic side to the label, which consists of I can't say much about it because it's still in the process, but it's gonna be a brand, in my opinion, a brand new approach to how we can position, you know, the products we're selling, which is music and an experience, because we're not just selling music, we're selling experience in people's hard work and sweat and tears and blood. You know, that's what it is about, and it's about also letting people see what this movement is about. You know, and it's not just Afro house, it's not just soulful house, it's not just, you know, it's just house music in general and how it's been misrepresented. You know, and I think that there is definitely something to be done here. The good thing is that I've through the years and through the grace of being DJs and traveling around the world, we meet so many different people, including, you know, billionaires, bank investors, etc., you know, hedge fund managers. So you have investors, sorry, and so on and so forth. When you have that network, then you can eventually at some point sit down confidently. Because to be honest with you, next year I'm going to be 20 years in the game. That's my 20th anniversary career.
Right on.
And I'm sorry, but people can say what they want. But you, myself, I mean, I've not studied long. You know, I stopped at college. You know, and everything that I've learned is self-taught. So I believe that I have my doctorate in my business. You know, 20 years in the game. That's actually more than that. It's actually like I'm mastering my field. Now, of course, I'm learning every day, and that's not the question. But it's like so nobody can tell me that I don't have a business. I just have a business that's not functioning to the best of its capacity, just like most of us who are able to, and this is the thing, and that's probably maybe the paradigm that I'm trying to kill, which is causing me some issues, you know, in the industry, where I'm trying to be like, yo, let's stop acting like we're all flying. None of us are. There's no millionaires. There's a couple of us that are, but we are still trying to find our way through. So it's like, how do we really sit down and look at our businesses with the eyes of business women and businessmen and really, really, really work on the expansion and the well-being of our endeavor? You know, so this is really where I'm positioning myself, media side of things, you know, distribution of labels. Obviously, we're gonna work as well on publishing. You know, with a partner with my partner, my sub-publisher, and you know, brother, it's just expanding. Because I mean, honestly, the DJing thing for me, after what I saw, and after you and many of us have been seeing, you know, it can be snatched from us like this.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. And I like it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over these next 18 months. You know, I
doesn't look good though.
Yeah, man. It's almost like it's you know, there's a lot of re sort of building and reestablishing again, and it does definitely appear that there's going to be more online activity, but I think people are going to want to go out and dance again, man. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that, you know, I was chatting with Kiko Navarro a month about it, and it's like I just can't wait till when we're DJing again and just being able to hug someone in the DJ booth. You know, I'm sure we're gonna get there, man. I'm sure we're gonna get there.
No, eventually it will come back, brother. I mean, but I think the world as we've known it has definitely changed.
100%.
We must accept that, you know, and I think there's beauty in that change. But bro, honestly, if you ask me, I love DJing. You know, this is my thing, but not getting too deep into things. You know, I've been blessed to DJ, but I've never really DJed crazy like most of my peers. You know, I've been on the road, yes, but my entire career has been paved with very scattered sort of bookings. You know, I've always been dealing with, and this was never a question of the team or this or that, because you have to bear in mind, I've opened single-handedly almost a market, you know, where at the time, no agency would want to work with you. No booking agency would want to work with you. So what I had to do was, you know, when I started, you know, it was when I started a couple of years after, when we really started to really push that thing forward. Ivan Diaz was the one handling my bookings, you know, when he had previously started as my label manager, and then, you know, he arranged a meeting between Sifa and myself, and then Sifa took over, and then Ivan went for the bookings. And then we did that for a little bit of time, which actually worked decently well. But I never considered myself a guy that was overly booked or out there like most of my peers. So I've always, you know, been blessed to make some money, but I never made that kind of like crazy amount, you know, where you would see guys talking to you about making like, you know, X thousands of dollars per gig. And, you know, at the end of the month being like with all this chunk of money and having all this luxury to really invest and do what they wanted to do. I've always had to work with bits and pieces. Yeah. So my entire career as an artist has always been, and I'm actually telling this to you, nobody knows that. This is really us talking. but I've always worked with bits and pieces. You know, I don't have somebody who's financially backing me up on a daily basis. So I really depend on what I'm making, just like most of us, I guess. And there's nothing wrong if you come from a rich family who has money to help you survive. I mean, you know, by all means, that's great. If you have that, it's fantastic. But for those of us who don't have that, and not saying that it's a must, but if you don't have that, then you have to find ways to survive. So for me, the realm of COVID-19 did not disrupt anything in that sense. I was already used to the hustle. I was already used to not necessarily having any time, you know. And that is despite the fact that my brand is strong and, you know, my name resonates and all that. But the truth of the matter is that as much as it resonates and as much as we would have successful gigs wherever we were going, you know, it never resulted in a second booking the same year, or, you know, a second booking the following year. Not always, at least, you know. And that's a true fact. And we need to actually be honest with this shit. People need to stop. Pardon me, I don't know if I can curse on your show, but
it's all right, man.
It's important for somebody in my position to actually say these things, because people don't understand, man. Like, yo, I remember being at home for 5-6 months in a row not having any show, bro. And that was a time where my name was at the peak. And it's not because we were not doing the work. And at some points, it felt very unjust. It felt like, yo, what are we not doing? You know, it's not like we're overcharging people. We're willing to work with people. We're trying to work with people. And they would always, oh man, it was so frustrating. But anyway, fast forward, and that's not me trying to rant, but that's just me putting perspective on the reality of things, you know? And it's like the necessity to really sort of like shift my attention to really going more for the business side of things imposed itself on me. You know, it imposed itself on me because I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm DJing, cool, but it's not crazy. Maybe my career will blow up in 3 years from now. Maybe I'm going to be, you know, DJing all over the world. But so far, it hasn't happened. And it's a steady thing, cool. It's not crazy, but it's there. In the meantime, I still have to make a living, and I still have to, you know, ensure that I pay for my house, I pay for my bills, and I handle things, right? Yeah. So I have here something that's in my hands, which is my talent, and another, which is my company, my label. I need to invest energy and time in this, because I've indeed been relying too much on my boy Sifa, because I was trying to hustle getting gigs, which we were not necessarily getting. We were getting, but it was nothing crazy. Like last year, man, if I was to tell, last year was a very bad year for us. Right. You know, we lost so many gigs, it was not even funny.
What was that from? The losing of the gigs? Man, was it just repeating? Was it because of, like, you mean gigs that you had lined up and you lost them? Or, right, okay.
Yeah, because, you know, in the meantime, you know, Ivan has been doing his own thing. I've done mine. You know, had a new team, and then I've had my agent that was handling Portugal, even in those days of Ivan days, took over for the rest of the world when we decided to do our own thing separately. You know, man, we are hard workers. When I say hard workers, like, we're the kind of guys that we're gonna sit down all night and even all day if necessary, and work on strategies, building new ideas, critiquing ourselves on what could be done better, what are we not doing, etc. But the thing is that, you know, we've noticed there was a pattern where, you know, we were unable to control the narrative of those gigs being lost. We didn't know what was going on. It's not a question of us not honoring the contract, because I think the only time I think there's only 2 or 3 times in my entire 20 years of career where probably I didn't honor a gig. It was maybe because of some weather situation, missing a flight. I was in Qatar when I performed, and I was supposed to perform that next day in Amsterdam or something like that. Something happened. So 3 times. So it's not a question of being professional. It's not a question of not being able to deliver a good night and have a successful night in terms of incomes for the promoters. We don't understand. We can't explain it. We just know that there was obviously some financially, I would say last year we could start seeing some promoters, some clubs already feeling a bit shaky. So some of this we can attribute to that, but the rest, man, I don't have no idea, and I've stopped trying to understand why we kept on losing these things. And you know, in that case, you'll have people coming at you saying, yeah, but your team this, your team that. It's like, bro, you know, y'all funny. You want people to be the best of friends, but when we are the best of friends, you're trying to fuck me over. You know, pardon my French. And then when we are being extremely professional and by the book, you're saying that we're not being cool. But what should we be then? Should we come for free? Should we start licking your toes? What are we supposed to be doing? You know? And since I'm not really one, you know, bro, grown man, brother, we ain't gonna back down for none of that dumb shit. So it's like, yo, it's cool. If you want to book, you book. You don't want to book, man, fuck off. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not gonna force you to do anything you don't want to do. I believe that what I've been doing comes from a position of respect, consideration, and absolute love. If you're willing to receive it, you're willing to work with us, cool. We don't, whatever.
My man, that's how I've always perceived you. You know, like your work, and you know, like it all appears that it comes from this pure place, man. So you know, yeah, man. It's challenging, you know, because it's like, and then at some point you're battling with yourself. Because like, do I need to become an asshole? Because it's like, no, you don't have to.
Too nice? Am I too nice? Because I know I feel you, but then at some point you're like, am I being too nice? Because that's just my way. I'm not being too nice because it's cool. I'm just nice because that's just how I am. I'm a nice guy, but until I'm not, right? So it's like I don't want to go to that until I'm not a nice guy anymore. So sure, you know. This whole
there's nothing wrong with being firm and sturdy, you know.
Exactly,
but, you know, and that's fine, you know. Like you don't need to compromise your work and your projects and you know. But yeah, I think there's a difference between being a nice guy and being a pushover, you know.
Exactly, exactly. And obviously, we don't want to be that. And the beautiful things that my team as well, you know, we're not like that. We are really chill people. Pretty much easy to work with. We're strict about the business. We go about the book. You know, there's no gigs until there's half of the payment done. This and that and the other, like this regular stuff. But with that being said, you know, 2020 looked like a fantastic year ahead. I mean, you know, in absolute contrast, brother, I can tell you that 2020 was going to be the year that made up for 2019.
You're not the first person that said that to me, man.
Yeah, it was, bro. We had gigs. So the beginning of 2020 was but then started February, bro. We started to get requests here and that. I had a tour in South America. Wow. I had like in the West Indies. I had like so many things lined up, and then you know we're gonna try to do Australia and do like you know New Zealand and try to go to the Middle East again. Like there was all these projects that we had in mind and that we were we were thinking of doing, which I was actually going to reach out to you for as well. But it so happened that, you know, COVID hit us and man, what an unexpected situation.
Yeah, man, it's totally shook things up. That's for sure. Look, you know, going back to what you're saying about, you know, being pure and coming from a place of your heart. I mean, I've always found, I mean, obviously it comes through in your music and just the way you are, you come across being very, I guess, on your feet are on the ground, in your spirit, you're a spiritual guy. Like I'm not like it comes across in, and I'll never forget like when we met in Greece through Dean's party, Zephyr Saint.
Yes.
And we spoke a couple of times about, sorry?
Shout out to Dean.
Yeah, man, 100%. You know, he's living in Melbourne. So when you're thinking of Australia, you should reach out to him. So I remember we spoke and again, like with spirituality, you know, it's something that always stuck with me when you spoke to me about food and it wasn't so much about like, you know, you being like a diva or anything like I need 5-star food. It's just like I need to eat well. You know, and it seemed like a very and that always stuck with me because I come from a Greek family and food's very important in my culture as well, and so I can relate to that. And there is something about good food and good music, it comes in hand together, man.
Absolutely.
It's a spiritual thing.
It is, huh? It is. The thing is funny because, for me, food is such an important thing, and it's at such a level of importance that when you and I we break bread together, this symbol. I'm very much about this kind of symbols. When we break bread together, it's a song. It's a sense of bonding. It's a sense of connecting on a deeper level because, eating is an intimate act. So it's not something that's vulgar. It's not something that because the simple fact that you're willing to be vulnerable enough to be seen as you're eating, because it's an intimate act. It's your privacy. We are willing to share our privacies together in the same space. And yes, we may have a great conversation, enjoy a nice wine, whatever the case may be. It's an intimate moment. So this moment must be cherished and respected accordingly. And it's like, that's why I'm not, I love good food. I don't care about 5-star gourmet stuff. I can have that as well, but whatever. I just love food, something that feels good and something that's not,
good, healthy, clean food, man.
Feel me? and it's like, I went to this, I remember I was in Fort-de-France in Martinique, and my homies there brought me to this Ital restaurant. Man, one of my best experience ever, man. The owner is this, Rastafarian, his wife as well, like both of them, and they would like, it's a very limited spot. There's only it can only welcome 5 or 6 people. And we were so lucky, not anymore, I think about 10. It's a restaurant for 10 people. We were lucky to have a, place for us. And man, it was just food, man. Everything, oh my God, everything. It was homemade, Ital, 100%. And it's like,
wow.
That experience was for me something that, marks me to this day. And so that's why I think the act of eating with somebody is not something that should be taken lightly.
Well, see, look at that. It was like, that's a memory, man. It's a memory that sticks with you.
Yeah.
That's and that's like, you remember good meals,
Yes,
and and especially with good company,
Absolutely.
and they're it's sacred, man. It's sacred. So meditation, you practice meditation as well, and
Yes.
tell me about your meditation practices. Is it something from from the Central African Republic, or is there any?
No, not really. I mean, the truth is that it's more, I would say, a concept for me of, like, I don't sit down in the lotus position. I don't do this whole
No.
I mean, I do give praise to the sound of the home, which is a very powerful sound. And all these mantras are extremely powerful. I mean, I do recite some of them. One of my favorite mantras is the Gayatri mantra, for example. Gayatri mantra is one of the most powerful, most ancient mantras as well, and extremely powerful. And on a vibrational level, it's something else. But then, my practice, I would say, as of, past couple of years, has been a practice of, first of all, giving thanks. I believe in God, but you may call it the universe or whatever you want to call it. But I would say, I give thanks. I give thanks for the life that I have, for the air that I breathe, for the opportunities that comes.
And that's a daily thing. That's a regular thing.
That's a daily thing. It's every day. There's not a moment I don't go to bed and I wake up from. It's not a moment where I go to sleep and I wake up without actually giving thanks. It's not a question of I sit down and I start. No, it's really because I've noticed one thing. I'm not good at applying dogmatic things. I need to make up my own little soup of whatever I like, and and that's my thing. That's my own little temple. So it consists of definitely giving thanks, breathing, trying to really do breathing exercises. There's a friend of mine, Dr. Diane Regisford, the impressive vocalist, whom I do every Saturdays. We do a Zoom conversation called Evoking Belonging, and she does this meditation called the breathing of the heart. And it's a very powerful thing because you hold your heart in your hand and you're breathing in deeply, and you're sort of like giving your heart, this moment to feel relaxed, freed, and held within mindful hands, which are your own hands, right? So I think that that's another thing that's helping a lot. And of course, another thing that's part of my meditation is the stretching that I do every morning.
What? Sorry,
I stretch in the morning.
Yep.
I'll stretch and I'll work out. So, for example, today, so these past couple of days after everything that happened, the killing of George Floyd and all these tensions that we were feeling, I have to say I've not been sleeping very, very well. I've had these weird nights, but I woke up this morning, for example, and I felt like I was rested, compared to the other nights that I had. I felt like I was rested, and my ritual this morning, I knew we had our interview, so I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in bed a little longer. I stayed until probably, I think it was like 10 a.m. Woke up, stretched, did my breathing exercises, obviously give thanks before I even come out of my bed, and some people do prayers. For me, it's call it what you want, but it's indeed a meditation. It's a state of gratitude, and I'm really feeling that gratitude because I'm grateful to be alive, man. I'm grateful to be able to breathe. I'm grateful to my body for keeping me, from allowing me to move. I'm grateful for my foot. I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful for everything. It's to a point where I meditate on my cells.
Yeah.
I'm polarizing my energy to a level. I'm really raising my own energetical bar every day. I keep, and I try. Some days, of course, you're not feeling like it. You're like, you might be a little bit, feeling off. But for the most part, I am doing it, religiously, should I even say. And so, yeah, man, did my stretching, shower. Next thing you know, and throughout my quarantine, I've always been carrying my life like if I had, things to do, which I had obviously because I was doing my show daily, but I would dress up, put perfume. Like I didn't change my way of functioning.
Yeah.
Because, I've seen people like all of a sudden becoming a real freaking mess, man. Like, PJs every day, not taking showers for 3 days. I was like, what the fuck is going on, bro? But to each their own, But yeah, for me, my ritual is maintaining a very, it's not military, but it's, I make
structure,
my bed
bit of structure,
day.
bit of
structure,
keeping structure, yeah.
For me, I've learned that from my father, and I think my father or my mother, not my father, my mother told me that very early on. She had learned that from, I think she's seen that somewhere on the internet. And so it's like, one should make their bed every morning. Because that's the first structure that you need to impose in yourself. So I make my bed
massive impact. Absolutely. I believe that as well. I think I make my bed every day to set the mind straight. That task 100%. Alone does wonders.
Absolutely, bro. And there was one day I didn't do my bed. I can tell you it affected me. It affected me throughout my day. And then when I went back to bed, I just felt like, nah, tomorrow I'm changing that shit up.
And there's something to it when you come back to bed and the bed's made. Like going back to a bed that's made. It does something to the subconscious, man.
I swear to you, man. I mean, yesterday, for example, last night when I went to bed, I was like, I opened my bed and then I spray my bed sheet with lavender, this lavender thing.
I love it.
Make sure because you gotta.
You're a classy man,
bro. You know it, and it's like I love elegance.
Yes,
but on top of that, I love to look after myself, and because I believe that we're not here to not only do we have to deal with painful shit on a daily basis, we're not gonna allow that to come and affect our balance at home. That's just not fair. You know,
To
home
yourself.
is where it's where your crown resides. It's where, you know, when you sleep, your bed is actually where, you know, you literally lay down. And this is your space of freedom and your haven of peace.
Yeah. Right
So it's
on.
like, you know, even when you have a partner, like, you know, if you, I don't know whether you straight, homo, whatever, woman, gay, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you have your partner, that person is supposed to be a person with whom you share a space in peace. The
Yeah.
moment that peace gets disrupted and you feel like you're not safe in your own bed, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, like, you know, I'm single and I'm very, very much happy to be. At times it gets a bit complicated, but man, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I cherish my space. I cherish my space, and it's not a space that I'm willing to open to just anybody, because I feel like, yo, your peace has no price, man.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point of my life after I lost my father 6.5 years ago.
I wanted
I
to talk
said
to you about that actually.
Yeah. So, well, after that very painful experience, man, I refused. I refused with the utmost level of determination to allow anybody or anyone to mess up with my balance. I just have no time for it. Like, I literally just, I told you about the label and what had the incident that happened with one of the artists. It was very easy. There was no conversation. I took down the whole catalog. I was like, yo, this is what we released from you. This is back to you. But my distributor was like, yo, but I was like, there's no discussion. I don't care if we reach the 1 million+ streams on Spotify, they can have it. I don't want that.
You don't want that energy.
I don't want that energy. I'm cool. You know, I called it upon myself. I allowed it to happen. It's okay. I've learned. Take it back.
That's courage, man. That's like that to be able to reach like that place and make that decision. You know, some people wouldn't even think of doing that. You know, it's
My peace is too important, bro.
yeah.
But because what is the point of making money if it's at the price of my health and headaches and dealing with stress and having man.
Yeah.
Look, there's other things.
Exactly, and I think this is. I mean, and especially like now, we're talking about gratefulness as well. I mean, this is the kind of conversations that are more prominent now because people are getting in touch with themselves and learning about these sort of things and how much we've taken this sort of mentality for granted, you know, like this way of thinking, because we've been so consumed in the way life was before. It was like all this kind of, you know, consumerism and get things done. I mean, it's made us slow down. You know, it's made us slow down and come back. You know, it's just which is a great thing. Now, you mentioned your father and losing him in 2014. You mentioned this was quite a big part, a turning point for you in your life. Your dad was, I imagine, a very important figure for you in your life, and I think, is this because of a lot of these attributes and the way that you think and the way you operate? Is this because of dad? And that's where the connection really is, you know, you as a man today. Yeah.
So, well, it's I would confidently tell you that yes, it is. Even more so now than it was before he passed away.
Yeah.
My father was poisoned, so it's not like but he died of natural causes according to science, but medicine, but it wasn't. So it's a bit of a slightly it's a slightly different approach. So you know, but you know, it taught me a lot. My father taught me the art of forgiving. He taught me the art of man. My father was a very successful man. He started from zero, literally. Made a lot of money. Became one of very 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 wealthy. Uh, as a diamond dealer, very respected in his industry, feared as well. He was a fierce competitor. Like he would actually say, in business, I'm a shark. I will indeed eat you alive in a respectful way, but but this is business. My father was able to like really do many separation. He was like, look, business is business, but then outside of business, we can be the best of friends, but there's no such thing as pity in business. But my father had a very strong ethic, and he would not go and try to eat on someone else's plate. That was one thing that he was very adamant on, because he believed that the sun shines for everybody, so there's no need to go and try to take someone else's shine, right? My father was a man that had been betrayed on so many levels. His name, dragged in the mud. Man, he was, yeah. It was terrible, But even the very people that did that to him, I remember a couple of years after he met them in Antwerp. I was with him. We were walking in the Diamonds District in Antwerp, and we met one of the guy that was one of the main dude behind trying to like destroy my father's reputation, name, and this and that and the other. And as he sees my father was 6'3", so he was a very tall man and very physically, like he had this presence. He was you could not see him, because he had this whole demeanor about him. I mean, he was a very classy man. Oh my gosh.
Now that's where you get it from.
Bro, I'm nowhere near my dad, man.
Styles.
My father was one of these brothers, man. He had too much style, man. Like it was something else. I remember, like as a kid, I would just walk next to him and I'd be like, "Shit, man." But only now I'm like, do I really even quantify the level of class my father had? Like, and it's not only in style, but it's even the way he behaved and his whole demeanor and how he would talk to people and the mindfulness, how he would lay his hands on your shoulder. My father had this really seriously amazing thing about him. He was able to like calm people down with his voice and how he would just like, man, I've seen things, man, crazy. So this guy comes and he sees my dad and he turns transparent. This is the guy that literally led to the ruin of your family. That dude and his partners, messed up my whole father's life, on a financial and business level. And here we are walking, and my father was all this grace, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And the guy was like, "You don't know what the fuck to do." He was like, he didn't know if he had to say hello, response yes. Say, "Yo, it's okay. I don't want you to feel bad. Past is past. What has been done is done." Whereas me on the side, I refused to say hello to that motherfucker. And I was like, I was close to come and kill his ass. Because there's always been a difference between me and my dad. My father was much more forgiving than I was. I'm more of the guy, like, if you slap me, I'll punch you so hard that you will never dare thinking of even raising your hand. It will traumatize you so much that you will never have even a sense of trying to come at me in a violent way. I guess I still am that kind of guy. It's like, I would never be the one aggressing anybody. But somebody comes at me, they'll get it.
Yeah.
So I'm a peaceful man, but I guess I'm the type of guy that understands that, if you're going to try to bring nonsense, you will be met with absolute certitude of, sense.
Yeah, it sounds like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, bro.
No,
really.
But my father was very forgiving.
Yeah.
My father always said to me, your biggest slap in their face is your success.
Mm.
The biggest slap in this guy's face right now is me walking free, because for the little story, my father was put in jail back in my country, Central African Republic, out of whole corruption. They corrupted the president at the time. they corrupted the whole government pretty much.
Yeah.
Because my father was becoming so powerful in the business and so influential that they just couldn't deal with that. And plus, he was black. What are you talking about? No way. So they managed to corrupt their way into making having him sent to jail. Which was it's a bit of a deep conversation, but eventually he was proven obviously innocent of all the accusations that he was a victim of. And so he told me, he said, look, this is the biggest lesson this guy is learning. I said, he's not going to learn shit. He said, that's him and his karma. And, my father was right. I think now the man that I am, obviously thinking back on all these things, is very much inspired and influenced by that side of my father. And the truth is that more than ever, I feel like a big part of my father lives in me, man.
Yep.
A lot of the time when I'm looking at myself, I look at certain ways I'm talking, I can literally hear my father talking like that, because my father and I, we had a very fusional connection, Don't get me wrong, my father was a very strict man. He would not play around and mess around. Like my father, he would correct my ass on a regular as a kid. Like he was extremely strict, borderline too tough, sometimes. But we had, I don't know, man. I was never that kind of kid that loved any of his parents more than the other. I love my father and my mother the same way, the same intensity. So, yeah, man. Now
I guess there's things that both of them bring as individuals separately, So you have these different experiences and different influences from both of their stories and both of their lives, and it makes up who you are. And
exactly.
Thank you for sharing all that, man. That's beautiful, bro. Now I know that you've got quarantine grooves happening. How regular is that coming out?
Well, Quarantine Groove started as a concept of a daily show in the beginning of the whole confinement situation and when the pandemic started. So I did it for 50 days straight without interruption, every day for 50 days. So it believe it or not, so I'm talking about, how you can manage, dealing with this situation as you are in the eye of the storm. That was one of the things that was really interesting, because it rose my following from 36,000 something, 37,000 almost, to 40, almost close to 46,000 followers on Instagram, for example. Rose my subscribers.
You had a big spike in followers.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I started being followed by football players, this and that and the other, actors, actresses, and it's
amazing.
Like, whoa.
Amazing.
People genuinely just be like, yo, man, you generate such a good energy with your show and just you dancing while we're all feeling depressed. Oh my God. Like it really became evident that the show really established the foundation for the Bodhisattva musical family. Like I have right now, I have to say that I've identified some hardcore Bodhisattva fans because of this show. So much so that when I do something, those fans, this musical family really follows me. Like yesterday, for example, we debuted the show on YouTube because, as you know, Instagram is doubling down on all the accounts, DJing and stuff like that. And I debuted the show on YouTube. Had 100 something people, and this was the Bodhisattva musical fam there.
Right there. Yeah.
So
sorry, go on. You were going to say?
So it's interesting how Quarantine Grooves after the 50th show felt like there was a bit of a when I decided to do it on a bi-weekly basis because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it was getting, I was like 50 days is a lot,
Yeah, man.
I didn't see many guys doing it for 50 days straight. So, besides Bob Sinclair and maybe some other guys, maybe Jojo Flores as well did it kind of a little bit later on. Started a little on, but he's still doing it every day, I guess. But anyway, with that being said, I felt like it was enough. And And now we're doing it on a bi-weekly basis, so it's Wednesdays and Fridays. And I added the talk show to the whole
Yeah,
thing.
that's what I wanted to ask you about. That is this a under the same name, or is it it's a separate podcast?
It's a separate podcast. It's called A Quarantine Conversation for now, but it's going to change as we are all being deconfined. And
where can people hear that?
They can hear that on my YouTube or my Instagram.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is that we are doing a conversation off of Instagram, but I am indeed thinking of now maybe going to Zoom, just like you're doing, or possibly even StreamYard, and bring that conversation there, so that the quality can be obviously much better than Instagram. Because as you know, the quality of the sound decreased from 60% when you start doing a conversation on Instagram. The thing is that the advantage of doing the conversation on Instagram is that you have live interaction with the people.
Yeah,
people can comment, and I think that's the part that's delaying the process of me, going live elsewhere. But
check out Mixcloud. Mixcloud have got the live streaming now too. It's definitely worth. I think it's the bit of Mixcloud Live is a bit of the future right now. Shout out to Mixcloud. I just love their service. They've released this new part of the platform, and I'm looking at going through there. We were using Twitch a lot, and now Twitch is gone with a lot of the rules and regulations and being censoring music and stuff, and so it's kind of like Facebook basically. And so Mixcloud are great and also the great thing about Mixcloud is that the music and when it's played payments go straight to artists. It gets picked up, and definitely worth checking out, man.
You know what? We used to run the show on Mixcloud, and we have a show called Frequencies of Offering that we started together with.
So your account's still there?
I'm actually checking as we're talking. I believe it is.
Awesome.
Yes, it's still there.
Fantastic.
Frequencies of Offering, yeah, it's still there. And we have 5,000 followers. Yeah,
dude, get back there, man. That's a nice little audience there.
That's right.
I've opted to the pro account, and there's also Select, which is great as well, where people can. There's also the option, like Patreon, people can pay $3 a month. If they want to contribute, and your followers, as soon as you post something, all those 5,000 people will get a notification that there's a show, and to their email addresses. So definitely worth speaking to Mixcloud to see what their services do. I am going
to look into that. Thank you very much for the heads up on this one.
For sure, man. For sure.
We're gonna. Now, as I'm looking at it, we've been talking about changing the name of the show anyway, and sort of like how do you call this? Rebranding the whole thing. So this is very auspicious. I might just rebrand it under the whole name that I'm creating in the whole show, and turn into a talk show mixed with DJ mixes. So
you can do it all there.
This is exactly what I'm trying to. I think it's going to be. Well, what could happen? The good thing about the these conversations that Zoom gives you the audio file and the video file, right?
Yeah,
so you can have both, and you can upload the audio as well. So that's a great take. Thank you for that. And it's funny enough, talking about patrons and all that. I just opened my Patreon account yesterday, and I've noticed as well that as I was doing the show Quarantine Grooves on Instagram, people started asking me to give my PayPal because I was doing it for free, and I am still doing it for free. But
that's
the fans are like, "Yo, man, we got to do something, man. You're giving us this music every day, like, come on." And so that's what I've been doing, and they're like, "Yo, just keep it there," and I've received donations, man. After 2 months, I received about a total of 1,000 euros.
Amazing. That's amazing.
It's pretty amazing,
Yeah, man.
That money allowed to pay for some expenses and
right on
with some other things. So very, very helpful, and I'm still doing that. I'm still keeping the link there, and there's people still, donating to this day.
Well, look, Mixcloud does it. You got your Patreon. Like, you got to get them all working. And
yeah,
I think this is.
I had a conversation with some colleagues. They were like, they're very but this is. I'm like, bro, really? Are you going to try to act like you're all good when you as fucked as everyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are still making money. Obviously, we're not.
That's right. And some people are willing to support, man. So, and people are really appreciating. I get when I do my mixes and I online and I tell people, hey, I blast it out on my email database or my and my WhatsApp, and people just, it's great to hear people coming back. Keep doing this, man. This is great. Like, I'm loving it. Like, I'm at home and. I had a family out, my friends from in Los Angeles. They're having a dinner party with the kids, and they got me up on the big screen. It's like awesome, man. It's. I think a lot of people are really appreciating what we do. And they're out there, man. They're out there. Mm-hmm. I noticed. You've got this new project out, and I really love the track, the Vigil Abloh. Is it a tribute? Tell me a bit about this project and the artist that you collaborated with, Boddhi.
Yeah, Boddhi.
How this all come about? How this whole project come about?
Well, Vigil Abloh is really it's a shout out without really being a shout out. A lot of people. Interestingly enough, this project is really causing us causing a lot of trouble for us because we've had people coming left and right.
Yeah, tell me more.
Oh, man, people are so silly. I have to say, man. It's look, Vigil Abloh, the song speaks about Africanity, right, and it speaks about the necessity to not jump on concept of Africanity out of just the idea of following the hype, right?
The trend.
Boddhi is an artist, songwriter, rapper, philosopher, teacher as well, and his lyrics are usually very controversial because he speaks on colonialism. He speaks on sociological issues from always the eye of it's very, very sharp, but always with a tone of fun. So it's very funny because when you visually see it, you're laughing, but it's actually cutting through the flesh because it's really sharp.
He uses comedy to get his message across.
In a way, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
or a comical
some
way.
of the lyrics can be comedic, but in this case, it is indeed very much. There's a lot of visual things to the lyrics. And Vigil Abloh felt like the perfect anchor. The idea that we have a brother, an African or black brother, whatever the case may be, but he's black. He's from the Pan-African, African American, African diaspora, you name it, call it what you want. Whose managed to get where he is now. Not everybody got to do that. And we are commending him, and we are pretty much just saying, off-white come Vigil Abloh. So we are talking about the brand that he managed to give life to. Off-white, one of the biggest brand in the past 3 years worldwide. Like, everybody knows Off-white. Talking about him becoming the artistic director of Louis Vuitton. African comme Vigil Abloh, African just like Vigil Abloh. Parti de rien, started from nothing, Vigil Abloh. So that's the whole idea of there is no such thing as impossible, but you must understand where you're coming from. It's the same sort of narrative where we speak about, understanding what are your roots and understanding where you started in order for you to know where you're going, right? And so, so
it's a positive. It's a positive acknowledgement of Vigil Abloh.
It is a positive acknowledgement of Vigil Abloh, mixed with an awakening type of message for those who don't actually perceive the grandeur of what's happening.
Right.
I mean, this is unprecedented.
Right. And so, what's the backlash? That's the controversy around it.
just like you said, people, we've had a lot of medias coming at us saying, we're not going to help you promote this project because it speaks about Virgil Abloh. And we're talking about black-oriented medias, like, the diaspora-oriented type of medias. I won't name them. But it's like, bruv, come on, man. Why would you? Y'all was supporting Yemi Alade when she released that song, Kofi Annan. She was speaking about freaking, the late Kofi Annan, who was the General Secretary General of the UN. I mean, come on, man. Like, seriously? When what's her name? This girl that did John Cena, the South African girl. Shoma Josie. When Shoma Josie did that song, Cena, like the wrestler John Cena. Like, come on, man, y'all, everybody was all over that stuff. We do a joint where we talk about a brother, and actually we're not even talking necessarily about him. We're talking about the diaspora and Africanity in general, right? Using him as an example. Y'all don't want to give love to this. It's like, okay, cool. Backlash. First backlash was that. Second backlash was when,
do you think that media outputs or journalists think that you're trying to jump on his hype machine?
Yeah, I think so. There was definitely that.
Right.
But it's silly because we really come from a very honest point and
you know the guy, right? You guys know each other.
I mean, we don't know each other like that,
okay.
But we have a lot of people in common. That's for sure.
Okay.
And the fact that we made so much noise and Boddhi hit him up directly. So basically,
so he was cool. He was cool with the track.
Oh, he loved it.
Amazing.
He started following Boddhi and myself. And he sent us private messages, and it was like, "Yo, man, dope shit." He actually, Virgil Abloh came in my live when I was actually with my friend Diane Regisford, and he actually he stayed with us for like 15 minutes on the live.
That's brilliant.
So the guy is really accessible, and obviously you can imagine how busy he is, but still took some of his precious time to respond and acknowledge and repost actually the video in his stories.
Fantastic.
So, eventually, that was the best cosign we could ever think of, because the man himself, reposted the song in his thing and reposted the whole actuality. And the way he reposted it wasn't just that, he went and reposted something he was tagged on. He actually literally went on our profiles, because you have to search through our profiles, pick pictures, and posted them on his story. Like, this shows that the brother really, really, really meant.
That's great, man. That's great.
So
congrats. Is it an offerings recordings release?
No, so this is the other venture that I've started with another and a big don of the game, Mr. Peter Adakwa.
I was going to speak about that. Yeah, right.
Batakari Music is a sister label to BBE.
Yes.
And Batakari is something that Peter and I started as a mean to.
When did you start this? The collaboration with Mr. Peter.
With Peter, we started. We already were working on that since last year.
Okay.
We worked on it. It's been 3 years we worked on it. We were talking about it, and then it really got implemented last year.
Okay.
So for the machine to start, because it's the whole team as well. So and Peter expertise and the team as well that he's bringing on board is a fantastic thing that's going to allow us to really showcase new talents and give people a different perspective on
fantastic
and futuristic African sounds.
Yep. Well, Boddhi, it was absolutely a pleasure and an amazing chat. Like, we spoke on a lot of great things here. Yes, I think are going to really be helpful for people starting out in the music industry, people who are in the music industry, and just generally your fans as well. I think it was just a great conversation. So thanks again for coming on Electronic Music Man. I'm looking forward to getting this out for people to learn more about you and all the great stuff you're doing, and keep doing it, man. Keep doing it.
For sure, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you as well for the support as well, and I commend you for what you're doing, brother. May you continue to be successful at it. And I wish for you to have your own show, let it on BBC, hopefully soon. Or if that was even to be the goal, but I mean, all that to say, I wish you the best of success.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Do you want to tell the listeners where's a great place to find, the links of you right now? Where's a good place to start? People can find more about you right now.
Well, I would suggest anyone who doesn't know me to obviously look me up on Instagram, Bodhisattva Official. You can also look me up on Twitter at Ancestral Boddhi, or on YouTube as Bodhisattva. There is quite a lot of visuals there.
Sure is.
Et cetera. But I would say that my number avenue of communication is Instagram. So number one avenue is Instagram. So, meet me there.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again. And for those of you out there that want to learn more about Electronic Music Man, sign up to jameslocksmith.net. And if you are seeking for some further information about what you're doing in the music industry right now, electronic music industry that is, and you're seeking some advice, hit me up at info@jameslocksmith.net. I'll be happy to offer you a 30-minute consultation and share what I know and or put you in the right direction with all the great people that I know. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for tuning in for today. Signing off, Electronic Music Man. Peace.